Welcome to the world of AI animation. In this video, you will learn how to write compelling story scripts, design consistent characters, and bring them to life with cinematic scenes which will get viewers hooked to your content, all with the help of AI tools. I will show you how to use just one image of your character to generate multiple action scenes from different camera angles and finally put everything together. By the end of this video, you will feel confident to create your own AI animation for your Faceless YouTube channel. And by the way, I'm Zinny, studying Faceless YouTube channels and figuring out how to turn them into profitable businesses with AI is all I do.
The scroll belongs to the shogunate.
Then let them come for it themselves.
You were one of us, Kazuro. A blade forged in the dark.
And then I saw what the darkness consumes.
The first step in this process is to write a compelling script, and I use ChatGPT. I started by telling it that this is 2D, 3D action, Japanese story inspired by Blue-Eyed Samurai, and I wanted the story to consist of only 2 characters. It should give me 10 interesting premises for the story, and the story should not be more than 2 minutes and 30 seconds. It went ahead to give me 10 interesting titles and a bit of description, and I went with number 5, the Ronin, and the Shinobi. I went ahead to ask it to develop the story for number 5, and it developed the title, The Scroll of Silence, and also gave me the characters Kazuo and Aya, though towards the end of the process, I changed their names to Kazuro and Asuka. It went ahead to give me the breakdown for each of the scenes. One thing I need to mention about using ChatGPT is once it gives you the first answer, you could refine it until you get what you're looking for. You could ask it to give you camera directions. You could tell it to write out the dialogues like I have here. Once I had that written down, I moved on to the next step. But before I show you the next step, I wanted to show you a particular GPT that you could use also for creating interesting AI film stories. This GPT is called 2-Point AI Production Assistant. It's specifically designed for AI film script generation. You could check this out too. Once I finished with the script, I moved over to creating the images, and I'll be using OpenArt. OpenArt recently launched very interesting features that I have been meaning to test for a while. Once you come to OpenArt, the main thing is to create these 2 characters and make sure that they are consistent. To create a consistent character in OpenArt, once you come to the home page, you have image and you have storytelling. Click on consistent character and it opens up to this page. Now, in creating consistent character, there are multiple ways to do that. You could start with a description of the character that you want to create. You could just take what ChatGPT provided and paste it here, and it generates the character for you. You could use just one image to create multiple consistent characters, or you could start with 4 images. You could decide which option that you prefer. I'll just show you the option that I use to generate these characters you see below here. First of all, I generated an image and used that image to create the consistent character. Let me quickly show you how I was able to generate the images, and then I'll show you how I was able to create these characters. First of all, go to create image, and then you will choose the type of model. Click on switch. You can choose which model you prefer. I used Flux and I put in the description of the character, and I didn't change any other settings but the ratio. I used portrait because I wanted to get like a full profile of the characters. It's easier that way, so you could see the full body, and click on generate. I was able to generate a couple of images that I have here. Once I have the images generated, you could just download the image, and then we'll come back here where it says character. Here we click on start with one image and then give your character a name, upload the image and click on create character. It takes about 2,000 credits from you to train the character, and once it's done training, you would see the character appear here. That's how I was able to train as Asuka, the character I have here as well, Kazuro. Now, To be able to use the character, what you could do is, let me start with Kazuro. You click on create and it opens up to this page. You click on this, which gives you the opportunity to put in a prompt and to use a reference. Once you click, it gives you the opportunity to put in a prompt of what you want the character to do. So here I want the character to kneel down and facing a particular temple because that is a description of one of our scenes. I made sure that any place I wanted the character to do something specific, I put the @ then name of the character and it's going to appear. In terms of prompt adherence, you could decide to make it less adherent or more adherent. I could use a bit of adherence and I'll put it at 6. In terms of the character weight, if you want the character to take more of the feature, just put the preserve key features on, and then I left every other thing as it is. Because I'm creating a story that will be on YouTube, I went ahead to choose cinema in terms of the aspect ratio, and you go ahead and choose number of images you want. You can see that's gone ahead to create the image of Kazuro. If you don't like any of this, you can always regenerate. And one good feature as well is you could use the very subtle to change the scene or very strong to change it entirely. Depending on what you want, you could use both options to generate a clear image, but I like to generate my images multiple times, try multiple variations till I get what I'm looking for, and that is a process I took to create single images that you would see in the story. Now there's some particular scenes where Kazuro and Asuka are fighting and I needed those characters to interact. This brings me to the new feature that was launched by OpenArt recently. It's called the multiple characters. Here you could see add character. Once you click on add character, it asks you which of the characters do you want to add to the scene, and I want it add Asuka, and I'll select Asuka and it'll give you the opportunity to say what Asuka and Kazuro are doing within the scene. I went ahead and typed the prompt that says that clashes blade with Asuka in the middle of a misty bamboo forest, and once I put in this, that's how I was able to generate this particular fight scene between Kazuro and Asuka. It's important to mention that because this is a new feature, you might need to generate a couple of images to be able to get the exact thing you are looking for. Sometimes it tends to change the feature of the characters. You could see here it didn't maintain the facial features that much and it changed Asuka clothing a little bit. But after trying a couple of times, I was able to get this, and it could put the characters in multiple scenes interacting with each other. Once your images are created, there are a couple things you could do in OpenArt to make sure that your image is perfect. The first feature I'll be showing is the upscale feature. You could click on the ultimate upscale and it brings you to another page that gives you the ability to upscale the image to be precise quality. Here I'll choose precise upscale and click upscale. I need to start upscaling the image to give me that quality that I want. If we go back to the character as well, while that is upscaling, there are a couple of things as well that you could do if you want to edit some features within the character. If I want to edit this, I could click on the in painting feature and it opens a new page. Once it opens a new page, it gives you tools that you could work with. You could change some characteristics of the character with. In painting, you could remove something using an erase tool. For example, here I have this scribble down here. I could click and wipe at it, and automatically with the quick eraser, it's going to erase what I don't want in the image. And next, if you want to expand this though, this is in the right dimension. You can always click on expand and move around the direction you want it to expand to put in your prompt and click on create. Once we have all the features right, let's look at our upscale. You could see how this is it properly, and once you're satisfied with this, you just go ahead and click on download to download it as a PNG, JPEG or SVG. Something else that you could do with the image within OpenArt as well is to convert this to a video without even leaving the platform. So come here, once you click on use image, you could see a plethora of things. You could do image to video, image to image, composition reference, as well as sketch reference. I'll click on image to video. It's going to open up to a page where it's asking you to choose which of the models you're going to use. It has Kling AI and Hailuo. I'm just going to use Kling AI for this illustration, and then this is the image we're going to animate. Then the prompt, we could say 2 warriors fighting. Then in terms of negative prompts, you could say we don't want any distortions, we don't want any blur. And then creativity, I like to leave it in the middle. Then in terms of duration, we could leave that 5 seconds or 10 seconds. It's going to use more credits, so if you use 10 seconds, it will use 300 credits. Then for the quality, standard or pro, the majority of the time I like to use standard, but if I want a high fidelity video, I could use pro. I'll leave it as it is and click on create. I need to start animating that particular image. That's how I was able to animate this particular scene where it was a flashback of young Kazuro and Asuka fighting in a courtyard. Once I had all my images animated into a video clip, I downloaded all of them. The next thing was to create the voiceover because we are talking about a Japanese story. I wanted a voice that is going to represent anime style voiceover, and I tried to search to see which tools are going to give me the perfect voiceover, and I realized that DupDub recently launched what they called anime voices or animation voices. So I clicked here, you would see that they launched a couple of voices, animation voices and multi-emotive voices as well. Under the animation videos, you would see new voices here that depict different animation character, and I'm looking for ones that are similar to anime, because remember, this is a Japanese story. And then I found a couple of them. I found this new one, and this, I liked a couple of them. This was really doing well in terms of how they sounded. So I used this and this for the narrator as well as Kazuro. And then for Asuka, was looking for another character. I went on to the multi-emotive and I used this particular voice. What I did was, first of all, select the voice I wanted to use for the narrator. I used this voice specifically. I selected this and it opens up. What I'm going to do is, instead of using the single voiceover, I went ahead and clicked on multiple voiceovers because each of the characters has lines they are saying. I'll go ahead and paste what the characters are saying and I'll explain what I did. Coming back here, I pasted in the very first line that the director said and the next line. Then I pasted what Asuka was saying and then this character Kazuro. I went ahead and pasted the multiple voiceovers for the different narrations of what the characters were saying. And once I was done placing these, I went ahead to click on generate text. So I will play this and you would see how it sounds after it has been generated.
In the dying light of the shogunate, 2 shadows prepare to cross paths. One runs from duty, the other from truth. Once allies in silence, now destined to clash in it.
The scroll belongs to the shogunate.
Then let them come for it themselves.
You were one of us, Kazuro. A blade forged in the dark.
And then I saw what the darkness consumes.
Before the fire, before the lies, there was trust.
They burned a village to test this scroll. Innocence gone.
I remember. Run, Kazuro, before I change my mind.
Some scrolls hold power, others regret. But the most dangerous truths are carried in silence.
Sounds perfect. So what I did next was to click on export, and then you should choose between the WAV file or MP3. I just choose an MP3 and clicked on export and have it downloaded to my system. Now that we have the images, then you have animated the images into videos and we have a voiceover. Now it's time to put everything together in a video editor. I'll just show you what I did in Capcut. Coming to Capcut, I brought in all the clips that I needed as well as the voiceover. First of all, I placed the voiceover in the timeline, and based on the story, I broke down into areas where different characters were speaking and in areas where the narrator was speaking. Where you see gaps here are areas where no one was speaking. just action, basically. After I placed the voiceover, I went ahead and started playing the voiceover. I pulled in the particular video that represents what the voiceover was saying. At the beginning here, it just opened up to the temple, and then he moved into Kazuro kneeling and bending, and Kazuro wasn't saying anything, and he moved into where Asuka was, coming towards the temple in order to launch an attack on Kazuro, and then went ahead for the fight to begin. So to make this even more interesting, what I did was I came to audio and went to sound effects. So I used multiple sound effects such as birds, swords clashing, footsteps, falling down, running, and moving transitions. You can see there are so many of them that I use here to be able to give me that effect that I wanted. One thing that I added was transitions in between the scenes so that they can move in smoothly into different scenes without it feeling disjointed. After I went ahead to do that, I also added a couple of effects. Example, in situations where there was a flashback, I added a gray kind of effect to show is a bit different from other aesthetics of the film. Some other thing that I added as well was whiteboard effect at the beginning. Once I was able to put everything together, this is how the entire story turned out.
In the dying light of the shogunate, two shadows prepare to cross paths. One runs from duty, the other from truth. Once allies in silence, now destined to clash in it.
The scroll belongs to the shogunate.
Then let them come for it themselves.
You were one of us, Kazuro. A blade forged in the dark.
And then I saw what the darkness consumes.
Before the fire, before the lies, there was trust.
They burned a village to test this scroll. Innocence gone.
I remember. Run, Kazuro, before I change my mind.
Some scrolls hold power, others regret. But the most dangerous truths are carried in silence.
What does it cost to create this animation? In this particular tutorial, I use just 3 tools. The first one is OpenArt, has a free plan which you could test out. But in terms of creating things like consistent characters, multiple characters, essentially you'd have to use a paid plan, either the essential plan or any of these other advanced plans. So you are aware. In terms of DupDub, like I mentioned earlier, it gives you a 3-day free trial during which you could test out these new animation voices for free. And for Capcut, it has a free plan that you could use to create and edit your videos without paying anything. All the links to these tools will be linked in the description box below. Creating animations like this can truly set you apart in the Faceless YouTube automation space. If you're wondering how to even get started with the Faceless channel, don't worry, I've got you covered. Click on this video right here where I break down everything you need to know as a beginner, and I'll see you there.